Nights at Freddy's is taking over the world, baby! And with the FNAF movie breaking records daily, it has already been confirmed that we're getting a second film. It's such a good time to be a FNAF fan. And as always with any sort of FNAF-related media, there are still so many questions that need to be answered. Like, who really is Garrett? Who is the strange spring-lock animatronic that Abby was being forced into? And is sweet, innocent little Abby actually an Afton? Things are about to get real crazy up in here, so make sure you're ready, because it's time to solve all of the FNAF movies' mysteries.
Hello? Well, if you're hearing this, then
like and subscribe. I love hearing what FNAF fans think, so what did you think of the film? Let me know down in the comment section below. Give it a score out of 10. Let me know what you think of it, and let me know what you're looking forward to in the FNAF 2 movie. I want to see those toy animatronics. I want to see what the Jim Henson Creature Shop can do with those animatronics, and it's going to be peak cinema. It's going to be peak cinema. Anyway, straight on to what happened in the film. Obviously, there's going to be loads of spoilers here, but over on Twitter, or X as it's called now, I asked you for your questions that needed solved. So I'm gonna solve them for you. You're welcome. Okay, so Jess obviously brings up a very important question over here that a lot of people are worried or are concerned about. Why did Afton kidnap Garrett? You're right, why? Why Garrett? Why in the middle of a forest? Why did he snatch up that kiddo in the back of his car in the middle of absolutely nowhere? Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. The most simple answer is right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time for sweet little Garrett. And Garrett's family, obviously. He was just there, maybe Afton was walking his dog, or he was going for a peaceful walk in the woods, you know, doing beautiful Afton things, and he sees a kid, sees an opportunity, and goes, you're mine, come in with me. But we're FNAF fans over here, we know William Afton, we know that is just too... It's not his thing. He's not in the rabbit suit. He's not in his pizzeria. Why Garrett? Out of anybody in the world, why Garrett? And I think it comes down to something a bit more sinister. Afton and his shenanigans, huh? So personally, it makes more sense if Garrett is a picked target. Afton has picked this Garrett out for his first napping, his first experimentation, his first whatever he's trying to do at this point. Garrett is a targeted person. Now, I think this could be down to the fact that he's either seen him in the pizzeria or the fact that Garrett's family has a connection to Afton, which is the most likely scenario here. I think the Schmidt family are actually the Emilys of this world. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about this. The FNAF movie is a cinematic universe of its own. It is based off the books, it is based off of the games, but it's in its own universe. Stuff that happens in this isn't the same that happens in the games. There's going to be parallels, there's going to be symmetry, there's going to be bits and pieces taken from them, but they're not the same. That is very important. Keep that in mind as we go forward. And I think you should keep your mind open as we go through the movies and the books and the games in the future, because things are changing. FNAF is huge now. It's not just one or two games. It's huge. So, I think in this case, the Schmidt family, which is obviously the mom, dad, Garrett, and Mike, are all the Emilys in this situation. So, Afton's business partner was obviously, I don't know if his name was Henry, but it was the father here, Mr. Schmidt. We're going to call him Henry Schmidt, just to make things a little bit easier. Henry Schmidt. So, that's why he's taking Garrett. He's obviously jealous of Henry, or he's angry with Henry, or something. If I remember correctly from the books or the novels, Afton was jealous of Henry, presumably, because Henry was the talented one, right? He was the one that made the animatronics, if my understanding's correct there, and he was jealous. So, even if that's not the reason in the movies, it makes sense that Afton would take Garrett as some sort of revenge, whether he intended to take him for ransom or something happened and he endgamed him by accident, but this is obviously the turning point for William Afton here. Whether he intended to endgame poor sweet Garrett or not, this is the moment things spiraled out of control. William Afton got himself a little bit of a hunger. He became a hungry boy for endgaming people, and this is where it all happened. So, to answer this question, I truly believe that the Schmidt family are the Henrys in this universe, and that William Afton has taken Garrett on purpose. He's followed them to the forest. He's waited for his opportunity, because if you have a think about it, it happened really quick. 1 minute they were all playing with frisbees and planes and having their, what was it, hot dogs or burgers or something they were eating, and then the next minute they all turned their back and Garrett was gone. He was in the back of William Afton's car and they were midnight motoristing out of there. So I think this could be presumed that he is the first. Garrett is the first, and we're going to talk about that later on. But there we go. William targeted Garrett. He saw the opportunity, snatched that kiddo up, and he was out of there. It wasn't random. It wasn't a random kid in the forest. He saw his opportunity after stalking him for a while. William Afton, bad man. We got another very important question here, pivotal to the FNAF movie lore. Did Doug ever get a nice meal? Poor Doug. Poor, sweet, innocent Doug. A man who should not have been listening to any of these conversations. A man who should not have been anywhere near this scenario. No, Doug did never get that nice meal. Ayo, Doug better be back for the second film. That lawyer needs to be on retainer. Bring it back, please. One reason Dougie might not be brought back on retainer, though, is Aunt Jane. Was she actually endgamed? Silly Aunt Jane taking a nap like that. I mean, let's face it, Aunt Jane had it coming. I'm not gonna lie, Aunt Jane had it coming. So when Golden Freddy decided to come and take Abby to the pizzeria to try and put her into the Ella suit to turn her like them, they had to go past Aunt Jane. Had to get through Aunt Jane because obviously she's not going to allow Abby just to wander out the house because that's her dinner ticket. She needs Abby around so she can gain sole custody, and obviously losing Abby would probably put a dampener on that bid for a legal fight. So they, Golden Freddy decided to knock her out. Whether she's unconscious or she's actually down in the burning depths of the underworld, we do not know. Now, the big plot hole here and the problem that I think a lot of people have had is it's never explained. Vanessa obviously can't cover up anything this time because Vanessa's in some sort of coma. We see her at the end of the film. She's in a hospital bed. Mike's going to visit her. There's no chance she's waking up anytime soon, so she couldn't cover this up. So what has happened to Aunt Jane? That is a little bit of a plot hole, but there's two outcomes here. Either she's gone, she's been endgamed, and nobody really cares. I mean, that is a possibility. She wasn't a very likable character, but I think it's more likely that she is still alive, and she was just knocked unconscious, and that was it. She didn't know what happened. Mike was obviously accounted for. Abby's not going to do something like that, so who knows? It just seems unexplained. I don't think personally she's gone because they would have made a bigger point about her being endgamed. So I think she's going to come back in the second film, and I think she's going to have a bigger role. She's obviously not trying to take on custody of Abby anymore because we see at the end of the film Mike and Abby are quite happy. So I think there's a big bit of a hole there that needs to be explained in the second film, and I think that's why it's not answered so much in this one. I think she still has a bigger role to play because it's not, I think, we're going to talk about this later on, but I think she's more important than this let on at this point in time. It's not just about the money. She's fighting too hard for just money, for an allowance for looking after Abby. That money can't amount to much. So I think there's a bigger thing in there. Why weren't Max and Co.'s endgamings a bigger deal? As a cop, is Vanessa covering it all up? Yeah, it was explained. Vanessa is covering up a lot of the things that happen. The night guard we see right at the start, which was it Fritz? Was it Fritz? Is it Fritz Smith? I can't remember the name. It was the guy from the first game. Fritz! I'm sure it is. I think that's who the night guard is right at the start that gets endgamed. Yeah, Vanessa's covering up. She's covering up her dear old Daddy Afton's misdoings and whatever happens in that pizzeria. Obviously, she tried to cover up Max, etc., because we saw them in the Sparky, the Shadow Freddy suit, and was there another suit in there, or were they just lying on the floor? Either way, she tried to hide them. But with the Pizzaplex falling apart at the end of the film, probably nothing was done. Nobody would ever think to look in there. It was probably just chalked up as an accident, and the building's probably set for demolition. Because let's face it, Afton's not around to try and keep it going anymore. He was the one that was trying to save it. And if we're right in believing that Mr. Schmidt, the guy who's no longer around, was the other owner of the Pizzaplex, then there's nobody in charge of it anymore, unless it's all defaulted onto Vanessa and they can't do anything with the building until she wakes up from her coma. So the building's not going to be demolished. Max's and that's death is going to be unexplained, and let's face it, I think they were more on the darker side of life, so they're missing reports have probably just been filed and nobody's unfortunately really caring about trying to go and find them, and it's just gonna be chalked up as that. There's a couple of things there. I think they've had to cut a lot from the film. If the film was longer, they'd probably be explained in a little more detail, but hopefully I've solved it for you. What's William's beef with the Schmidts? Why did he hesitate reading Mike's name? I doubt he'd remember the last name of a kid he endgamed decades ago. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Let's say William Afton is the kind of man that remembers things. He keeps trophies. Let's face it, right? let's face it, you already know he's got a newspaper clipping somewhere. He's the kind of guy that would do that. Now, I'm not just pulling this out my cheeks. Look at the gift he gave Vanessa. Look at the gift he gave Vanessa in this picture, because this is Vanessa and this is Afton over here. It's the plane. It's Garrett's plane. Okay? So you already know this man is keeping trophies. He knows exactly who Garrett Schmidt is. And when he read Mike Schmidt's name, that's why he hesitated. That's why he changed his plans. If you notice, he wasn't really going to give him a job or anything until he read his name. Said it was going to be very difficult. And then he gave him the one job he could actually give him, because he's got to keep up the pretense here, right? It looks like he's got like a Counselor of the Year award on the wall. This man is clearly good at what he does, so he's actually working properly. He's got himself a nice cushy little job where he can get some money and he can keep doing what he does. And he sends people over to the Pizzaplex, people that will either not be missed or people that are in trouble. He's sending troubled people over there to continue on with experiments. It's a perfect cover. He gives the good people, or the people that have got families that will worry if they go missing, he gives them the jobs that will just keep his pretense as a counselor up. And he gives the people like Mike, who are troubled, who are struggling, jobs at the pizzeria, where if they go missing, a police report will be filed, and then that's it. Or Vanessa just hides them. It's the perfect cover-up. He's doing a good job. Let's face it, he's good at his job, and he's also very bad at his job. So, when he read Mike's name, he knew the perfect job. Now, there's two reasons he paused at Mike's name. He either paused reading Mike's name because he recognized the name from Garrett. I mean, let's face it, if this was his first, he will have remembered the name because he would have checked the newspaper clippings to make sure he didn't get caught. He would have checked all the newspaper reports. He would have been around at the forest. He would have been there. He would have known, he would have remembered Garrett Schmidt's name. But if we go all the way back to our previous theory, he already knew the Schmidts, right? He already knew who the Schmidts were. That's why. Because he knew what he'd done. He knew that this was the son, or Mike was the son, of his former business partner. So it all goes hand in hand. And if you have a look, the name Schmidt is obviously very important because it's only ever said once in the entire film. Afton almost says it in the career council meeting when he first meets Mike, and then when he says goodbye to Mike later on, when he kicks him and punches him and throws him and stuff in the pizzeria, he actually says his name, Mike Schmidt. That's the only time it's ever said in the entire film. In the second film, we're going to find out a lot more about the Schmidts because that name holds a lot of weight, and that's why it's only used the one time. Afton knows the Schmidts on a personal level, not just because he endgame Garrett. He knows them on a deep personal level. He has a resentment towards that family. And let's not forget as well that Afton instructed Vanessa to keep a close eye on Mike. Like a close eye, he gave her specific instructions to end him if he got too close to the truth. Which means Afton suspected that Mike was there for a very specific reason and was to find out about his brother and what was going on. Or he worried that Mike would go nosing around and start putting two and two together and get an endgame brother. You know what I'm saying? So Afton knew something big was gonna go off. So yeah, that's William's beef with the Schmidts. Is this baby or is it another animatronic? That's Ella, my friend. That is Ella. Now this is a good one. This is a really good one because it links back to Henry Emily once again. Ella is an animatronic doll and was one of the 3 toys that was built by Henry for his daughter Charlotte Emily. So yeah, we got a new animatronic in the house. Well, technically new, it's not in any of the games, but it's in obviously the books. So this is Henry's creation for his daughter Charlie, which as we know turns into the puppet at some point. Anyway, not important just now. They were trying in the story to put Abby into this animatronic, obviously to spring lock her and make her like them, basically, which you've come back and possessed this Ella doll. I'm not 100%. It looks likely that's what's going to happen, but the interesting part about it all is Afton, I'm not sure, instructed this to happen, and that leads me on to another theory later on. But for now, Ella is a brand new animatronic in this universe if you've not read the books. It's no baby, it's Ella, and very creepy, by the way, very, very creepy. An interesting doll that is probably it holds a lot of significance, and I don't think this is the last time we're going to be seeing this animatronic. In the end credits, when we hear the voice saying, "Come find me," does that mean Garrett is potentially the puppet? To simply put it, yeah, I truly do believe that Garrett is the puppet. It just makes the most sense. So during the end credits, we hear a noise that spells out, "Come find me." And this noise can be heard in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 death minigame. So when you end-gamed in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, sometimes you get a death minigame, which is how we learned of the stories. And it was huge because this was the first time Scott really explained the story of the Purple Man and how the animatronics came to life via the puppet. So the noise that we hear at the movie end credits spelling out, "Come find me," is exactly the same noise we hear when the puppet is giving life to the animatronics. He has the puppet, or she in the canon universe, but in this universe it's a he, I think, if it is Garrett. So we're just gonna go the puppet gave life to the kids. Obviously, they saw that William Afton had destroyed them, so they put the souls into the animatronic suits, giving them life. So yes, I truly believe that one, that is teasing the next movie, because let's face it, we've already heard that Scott is taking feedback from this film to make the next one, and they're working on a new script, or they're editing the script that they've currently got, or the screenplay. It's also teasing that the puppet is going to be coming next, and saying "come find me" kind of suggests that the whole time, the whole movie, Mike was looking for his brother. Mike was looking for his brother, and to truly find out what happened to his brother and who did what they did to Garrett. So saying "come find me" is a teaser for what happens. And one of the most significant things about this film is we never actually see what happens to Garrett. We don't see Garrett as a ghost. We see everybody else. We see Bonnie, Freddy, Chica, Foxy, and we see Golden Freddy, but we do not see Garrett in that spirit world. I think that's because they're keeping Garrett at the side for something else later on in the future. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, that's what they're doing. So why would we not see him? Why is he not there? Because he's probably not in this location. That's what I think. I don't think Garrett is in this location, whereas the rest of them are. There is another theory, though, however, that Garrett is actually Golden Freddy. Now, this is kind of wild and kind of out there, but there's one particular part in the film that might make this make sense. I don't think it is as solid as the puppet, but I gotta do my due diligence in theory crafting, and we gotta put it in there anyway. So, Garrett could also be Golden Freddy. Now, the reason I'm saying this is when Golden Freddy comes to the house to meet Abby, Golden Freddy is standing behind the blonde-haired kid. There is a one scene, one particular angle in which you see them both at the same time. Now, this has two different reasonings, two different paths we could go down. The simplest one, and the one that probably is that the fact that Abby is speaking to the ghost child, she's not speaking to the Golden Freddy. She's speaking to the soul that's inside Golden Freddy, and that's how she sees them. We see that in the pictures that she draws around the house, and they're up on her wall. She sees the kids as they are in Mike's dream. She sees them with the hook and the eye patch and the bunny ears and the cupcake bib, that kind of thing. She sees them as that, so when she's speaking to them, she's not speaking to the animatronics themselves. A lot of the time, she's speaking to the souls within it. She has some kind of weird connection to it all. The second reason, which I think is not the same, is that Garrett is inside Golden Freddy, and the blonde-haired kid is kind of just in charge of it all and using Garrett to try and lure her in. But I don't think it is. Two reasons. It just doesn't make sense. It makes more... The way that all the kids have been stylized, they look like they're animatronics. So the kid with the golden hair would be Golden Freddy. The kid says he's not Freddy. He's alluding to that he's Golden Freddy. That's what he's alluding to. He's not alluding to that he's not Golden Freddy either, and he's something else. So Garrett is most likely the puppet. We'll see him in the second film, but there's also a very, very tiny 0.01% chance that he could be Golden Freddy, but I think that's very doubtful. Let me know who you think he is down in the comment section below. Are Vanessa, Mike, and Abby related, or are Mike and Abby Henry's kids? I must know. You ready for a wild one? Vanessa, I don't think Vanessa's name is ever revealed, is it? Does she have a second name officially? I don't remember her ever calling herself Vanessa Afton or Vanessa Raglan, and that's for very clear reasons. William Afton doesn't want any ties to Vanessa so he can keep doing his shenanigans. So, but we already know, because Vanessa confirms it, that Afton is her daddy. We know that. That family tree's complete. Mike is obviously Mike Schmidt, his mother and father. We see them and they're both gone. They're endgame, they're out of the picture for various different reasons. And then obviously we've got Garrett, who again is gone. Mike is on his own. Abby is the big mystery right here. Now, is Abby a Schmidt or is Abby an Afton? This is a huge thing, okay? Because again, Abby is never referred to as Abby Schmidt at all, and her second name is never talked about. Again, because it probably holds some sort of significance. They're making it look like she is Abby Schmidt. However, there is one line in particular, and we know how careful Scott is with the script, but he said when Abby's mum died. Not our mum, when Abby's mum. So that suggests that they have different mothers. That is such a deliberate thing to say, when her mum died. That not ours. You would normally, as a human, you would say ours. And that's when, obviously, Mike's father couldn't take it anymore and he endgamed himself. So, it is very confusing, this point. So, did something happen to Mike's mum? Maybe she went off the rails and the mother and father couldn't stay together anymore because obviously a tragedy happened in their family, and that does split families apart, and it can do because you're looking at the family, you're looking at the partners. Maybe she got a disease and died. We do not know. That's this part of the plot that still needs explained. But I think they're keeping it hidden intentionally because I don't think Abby is a full-on Schmidt. I think she's half sister to Mike, and that's why he has custody, but I think the mum is potentially related to the Aftons. Potentially. It is wild and it's out there, but there's a few reasons for this. Okay. The first one is, why is Abby seeing all of this stuff that's going on? Why Abby and why not anybody else? She can see the kids, she can see what's happening. I don't know, maybe it's just because she's a child and she's able to perceive things more because she's less bottled down by the troubles of the world and she's got more of a carefree spirit. Is that why she can see them? Can she see them because she's a kid, so she's relatable to the ghosts and the spirits and they just want to have fun at the end of the day? We see that in various different scenes. That they're kids. It's horrible. You forget that they're animatronics. You forget that they're kids when they're the animatronics. So when you see them building a fort, you're like, yes, of course they're children. A lot of people hated that scene. But if you look at it from a cinematic point of view, from storytelling, it's actually really sweet. People are goofing on it because they're expecting like 18 R levels of gore and horror in this, which it just isn't. Which it's marketed as a horror, so I can see why people are getting confused. Anyway, huge tangent. So, does that mean the way Aunt Jane is she is going after this kid? She really wants this kid, and I think Aunt Jane has some sort of connection to the Afton world. I really do think she does. There's something there. So I think that potentially, I'm not saying Aunt Jane's the mum, but I think there's something going on. There's something happening over here. Who is Aunt Jane? Now, the next big point. Golden Freddy, the child who seems to have... Afton doesn't seem to really have control over Golden Freddy. He has control over the rest of them. We know this when he says, "Wake up, children," in that really cold moment when all the animatronics who have just been zapped by a cattle prod or whatever it was and via Mike, they all just woke up and they went back to their shenanigans. But Golden Freddy was separate from all of this. Golden Freddy is not somebody that Afton either can control or is even aware of. Now, this kiddo was able to go and get Abby. Why Abby? Why Abby of all people? She seems really targeted, and yes, it might simply be because Mike is there in the pizzeria and they have access to Mike and they can make the trade, okay? Yeah, sure, but this seems more targeted. This seems really... I think there's an underlying layer where Abby is being targeted for more than just the fact that Mike is there. I think Abby is potentially some sort of relation to Afton, and the Golden Freddy kid is taking some sort of revenge, because that kid is an angry kid. Understandably. I'm not saying that you've not got a justification there, kiddo. Please don't come and get me. But you are angry. That kid is angry, and he's taking it out on Abby, and I think he's trying to hurt Afton. But again, that is wild. It's out there. That is the one of the things that is like pow out there sort of theory. So maybe somebody else can help flesh it out. That one is out there. I just wanted to discuss it because I think it's very important. I think the main takeaway here is Abby is not a full-on, she's a half-sibling of Mike, and I think the mum over there is going to be very, very important. When we find out who she is, it's going to solve a lot of this movie. Does Willie Afton have psychic abilities to possess the possessed kids? How can he control their spirits from just being around them? So yes, this needs to be explained a lot more, but it goes along the lines of the picture on the wall. At some point, William Afton is found. This is the way to control the animatronics, or the kids inside the animatronics. This is proved when the picture is changed by Abby to depict the William Afton as endgaming them. So the animatronics spell is broken. So what is in this original picture? Is it some kind of agony? Is it some kind of remnant been poured into the picture? Or is it the fact that he is just lucky? It could just be down to pure luck that all of this has happened and he's learned how to control them. But he definitely seemed concerned when Abby was going to change the picture, so I think he was aware that the picture had some sort of magical powers. Now, who drew the picture? We do not know. It might have been Afton himself, and he poured some sort of excitement or energy into the picture, and from there, he was able to control the animatronics. We don't know how this happened. We're going to need it explained in the second film. The first film is basically just setting up the story. It was a fun, contained story, but it leaves a lot open to be explained in the second and potentially third films. We already know that Matthew Lillard has been signed on for 3 movies, so there's a potential there, but obviously depends on how each goes. Anyway, that's what happens. His ability to speak to them probably stems from the fact that they see him as a friend. So when he tells them to wake up, he can command them to do whatever he wants. They see him as their only adult or their only friend in the entire world. So they look upon him as some sort of probably father figure. Let's face it, they're children. They're lost. They're scared. They're angry. And they see him as the only one they can trust because of this picture. As soon as it's changed, they turn on him. And that is completely understandable. But the only one that's not affected by this, as we've explained earlier on, is the Golden Freddy kid. They know a lot more about what's going on here. So whatever's happened with this picture, Golden Freddy might have happened before the rest of them, and Afton's learned how to control them afterwards. Or he just doesn't know about the Golden Freddy kid. Who knows? I mean, he sees him at the end of the film when the Golden Freddy kid slowly closes the door on him and locks it. This is all going to be explained in the next film. It's got to. Now, this is a huge one. Is there a separate spirit possessing the cupcake, or can the spirit inside Chica switch between her and the cupcake? Okay, this is a big one. Wow, okay, now let's dive in. This is a couple of different things. The simplest explanation is it's an extension of Chica. Part of her soul is inside the cupcake itself, whether it's because Afton put a bit inside there, I don't know, or it was attached to Chica when the body was put inside, so that the soul kind of just went through the entirety of the animatronic, including the cupcake. So it could just serve as an extension to Chica, and she can control both at the same time. That is the most obvious answer. The second answer is potentially, is it Chica's dog, or should we say, is it Susie, who occupies Chica in the game world? Is it her dog? Now, if you go back to one of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, there is a scene in which we learn what happens to Susie. Afton lures Susie away from the arcade machines because he says he knows where her dog is, because she's sad because she's lost her dog. Afton knows where the dog is because he endgamed the dog, by the way. And whether he did or not, it doesn't matter. He has learned about the dog, and he lures Susie away using this, and then we know what happens to Susie. So, it's potentially the dog's spirit is in the cupcake, which would mean that potentially Afton's put the dog in the cupcake, or maybe he's just, the possession doesn't have to be from putting the bodies in the suits. It could just be that the body's nearby. That's what happens with Charlie and the puppet. The body isn't in the puppet. The soul was near enough when the soul was doing what souls do upon the body dying, and it possessed the puppet instead. So that's what happened. So potentially that's what's happened with the dog's soul. The dog has gone into the cupcake because that he sees that Susie is in Chica and wants to be with her, which actually, if you think about it, that's really sad. That's me saying it out loud like that just gets me in the feels. I've got a dog, and that would be, I mean, if you could be with forever with your dog, that's kind of cool, but not in that way. That's weird because obviously she's in a suit possessing, and oh yeah, that's poor Susie, poor doggo. They deserve better. So that's what it is, and that's potentially why Mr. Cupcake is so aggressive and so rabid and so like attack dog-like. Kind of makes sense. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because in the spirit world with Garrett, where Mike's trying to find Garrett, obviously we see all the souls, but we don't see a dog's. Now, this could be because he can't communicate with a dog, so why would a dog be there? Or maybe it was just a logistic thing, they couldn't put a dog on set, or it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but it's nice. I like that part, that the dog wanted to be with Susie for evsies, but I also think it might just be an extension of Chica. It's either one of them, so that's why Mr. Cupcake is so rabid. It's because it's either Susie's dog wanting to live in the afterlife with her, or it is the just extension of Susie as Chica. And she could just control it, because Chica never does any endgaming herself, if you have a look. The rest of them do, but Chica does not. So, very interesting. Let me know what you think. Who does Garrett possess? Is he the balloon boy? No, the balloon boy's just setting up for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's just a running gag throughout the whole thing that's going to have serious consequences when it gets to the second film, because if they are teasing the second film via Balloon Boy, that means we're going to get the toy animatronics, which is going to be amazing, but that means we're also going to have to deal with Balloon Boy, who, if you want to add the horror, the creepy atmosphere, you just have him giggling in the background in various different places in the darkness. That is going to be terrifying, it's going to be haunting, and it's going to be despicable. Everybody dislikes Balloon Boy, and the new design for Balloon Boy is even more terrifying. So yes, I think Balloon Boy is going to be important. I don't think anybody actually possesses Balloon Boy. I don't think that was ever a thing. I think Balloon Boy is just a separate entity. Maybe that'll change as things go on, and he was just a spiritual matter and just something that's just horrific. But if you want scary, wait until you see Mangle. If they manage to pull off Mangle, oh boy. But yes, no, Garrett is possessing the puppet. I think pretty much everybody's going to be agreeing on that one. Garrett is the puppet. Balloon Boy's just a teaser slash something spiritual and otherworldly that's going on as part of the pizzeria as a whole, and obviously teasing for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the next movie, baby. Let's go, let's go. How did Max fit there? So I presume what you're trying to suggest is, how is Max inside the Shadow Freddy suit? I don't know. It's probably because she's been forcibly stuffed inside the suit, so she's been crushed to pieces. Now, it's just me going out on a limb there, but she's probably been forced in there. But this begs the next question. Is Shadow Freddy going to be a thing in the upcoming films? Because we know how possession works. Is Shadow Freddy coming to life? And if that's the case, I'm pretty sure it's Hank that is in Sparky, the dog costume. Does that mean Sparky's going to be an animatronic? I don't know. I don't know how the possession works, the ins and outs of it. Maybe the puppet has to be around for this universe, but that's something to think about. Are we going to see Shadow Freddy haunting the halls? Oh, because that Shadow Freddy's first appearance was in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and we've also got Sparky the dog, who never really appeared. It was just a hoax. It was a meme. So I think Sparky's is a reference, but I think Shadow Freddy might be back for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. How did Max fit in there? Forcibly stuffed. So, and also, let's face it, she's half the girl she used to be. Who is Vanessa in the movie compared to the games? So far, there's not really a parallel, other than the fact that William Afton had a daughter. That is it. William Afton's got a daughter, and that is it. The name Vanessa is obviously Vanessa/Vanny from Security Breach, and the only similarity they have there, apart from the name, is that they're in a position of power. They are either a police officer or they are a security guard at the Pizzaplex. So they're in a position of power. Other than that, nothing, because as we know, William Afton's daughter in the games, or the game universe, Elizabeth, went bye-bye at a very young age. So we don't know. There might be siblings out there. Vanessa doesn't mention anything. The only picture we see from the past is Vanessa when she's a child holding Garrett's plane with Spring Bonnie unwithered right beside her. That's the only time we see the Afton family together. We know nothing about her mother. We know nothing other than that. It would be very interesting if the Golden Freddy child being blonde and Vanessa's blonde are siblings. Who knows? That's a wild one. And it would be even more incredible if Aunt Jane was somehow the mother. Again, I'm just going off the fact that there's blonde hair. Other than that, no idea. And it might explain why Aunt Jane is so ferociously trying to get Abby. It's all out there. It's a theory. It's just a game theory. Wait, okay, so that's a lot to take in, but the FNAF movie has been solved officially. You are welcome. If there's anything I didn't answer in this video, please go down in the comment section below, discuss it all between yourselves, and hey, maybe I'll do another video, a follow-up, if there's some big things that are either found or I have missed. But either way, right about my face just now, there's going to be another couple of videos I know you'll enjoy, including a behind-the-scenes exclusive world-first look at the animatronics in real life on the movie set. You're going to want to watch that if you haven't already. But either way, I'm Razzbowski. You've been the beautiful raspberries as always for watching, and I love each and every single one of you. Goodbye!